Welcome to Fool's Key Tarot. I'm Ben, and this is a daily reading for Tuesday, June 3rd, 2025. Let's see what the cards have in store for us. First, Strength Reversed. That is Major Arcana number 8. And in the reverse position, it can indicate a lack of self-control or a strong temptation. Next, we have the Hermit, Major Arcana number 9. So we have a sequence from 8 to 9, but the 9 is upright. The Hermit can be loneliness, but often being alone while you're seeking wisdom or working on something important. So usually not loneliness in the emotional sense, but rather in the physical, practical sense. Finally, the Page of Swords, upright. This can be a card about inquisitiveness, asking questions, delivering spoken messages, maybe a debate or a controversy of some kind might be occurring. So looking at all three cards together, it seems to me like on this day, you might find some time to yourself to reflect or to think about an issue or a problem you're facing or a part of your life. Maybe there is something going on that you feel like you needed to pay attention to, but you haven't gotten the time yet to pay attention to it. And I think today you're going to get that time, or you'll have an opportunity to take that time to reflect on something. And you might be alone where you go off by yourself to do this. Maybe you run an errand on your own and you just get some time with your own thoughts, or you can even do something like take a walk or purposely separate yourself from the people around you. But without physically separating from the people around you, you might just get a chance to turn inwards and think, sort of like being alone in a crowded room. Maybe you will just find some time for introspection or reflection, even if you are still in a busy environment. And today might be a great day to take a step back, disengage a little bit. Maybe there's a lot going on around you, but you can kind of calm down, withdraw into yourself, and study something that needs to be studied. So you've got some question on your mind, which is why you want to get alone, to think about it. And I think that maybe you've heard something recently, somebody said something to you that you don't understand, or maybe it bothered you. It could have even been something kind of offensive, maybe like a backhanded compliment, or you realize later that something that somebody said sort of contains an implication or an inference that you didn't fully understand at first. And now that you're thinking about it more, now that you have time to reflect on these words, you're realizing there's more that was said than you realized. And it might be something kind of negative where these words have been bothering you. Maybe the words have been running around in your mind and you felt like there's something about them that bothered you, but maybe you've yet to really figure out what that is. And maybe that's why you need to spend some time alone to figure out what it is that has been bothering you. Now, in addition to words that were said to you, this could be a message that was received. It could be something that you hear on the news or hear through some other channel. It could be something you overheard, like through eavesdropping, intentionally or just in passing. You happen to hear something and it stuck with you and it's caused some kind of uncomfortable feeling, but not necessarily hurt or anger, although it certainly could be those things, but it somehow hasn't settled quite right. And with Strength reversed over here, I think that you have a gut reaction to these words or to this message or to this information that is maybe destructive. You feel like you want to possibly get revenge if the words were hurtful and it was said to you by somebody that you know. Maybe you want to go out and overcompensate to prove these words wrong. Some kind of strong feeling is going to be what you have as a reaction to these words. And that feeling may have already come about, and maybe that's why you need to seek some time to reflect. This might be time that is needed to calm down. If you have felt those emotions strongly right after hearing these words or receiving this information, if you're already feeling very strong and maybe angry or hot-headed about it or just very passionate about it, maybe you need to take a second and cool down. Maybe that's what being alone is about. It may be that these stronger feelings haven't come yet. And when you find that time alone, or when you find the time to really think through this interaction, that is going to be when these stronger feelings well up. So whether or not they've already happened or they're going to happen later on, I think at some point you're going to have a very strong feeling about this message or these words. and it's probably going to pull you to do something that you know isn't right. It's not going to actually change the situation, even if it feels good. Or maybe it would change this situation, but it would cause even bigger problems that you aren't going to want to have to deal with in the future. So part of you is going to know that your instinct is wrong, but you're going to feel very pulled towards it anyways. And so that's a dangerous combination. And that is where this alone time could be really important for maybe taking the time to feel this feeling and then let it pass. And then by the time you come out of your retreat and re-enter the world, maybe your feelings are not so intense anymore, and you don't feel like you have to act on them. When these kinds of intense feelings or temptations come about, you shouldn't shut them down and say, I shouldn't feel this way, and so I'm going to ignore these feelings. If you try to ignore feelings, they're just going to come back in some form or another. So you have to honor them. They exist. They're there. That doesn't mean you have to act on them. And this time to be patient and alone might be exactly what's needed to accept these feelings, feel them as they come, and then let them run their course and kind of fade into less intensity. And then you will have the wisdom to not necessarily act on these feelings. Now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't act at all based on these feelings, and that you shouldn't do anything in reaction to whatever it is that you heard or whatever message you received. It just is that whatever your first instinct is probably wrong and maybe overly aggressive or overly destructive. And so you want to take the time to transform that strong feeling into a more refined and productive one, and then act on that instead. Now, the Hermit can be being alone, which is what I've been talking about. But another important aspect of the Hermit card is having a teacher or a mentor. And so instead of being completely alone, sometimes the Hermit card is about going off with one other person or a small group of people, and that pair or that group then isolating themselves from the world. And often, rather than being an equal pair or an equal group, there is a mentor and then a mentee or multiple mentees if it's a small group. And so there's one person on the card. You can see it's an older figure with a beard, but it certainly doesn't have to be somebody who looks like this, but it is often somebody who is a little bit older or who at least has some more experience. And they might be able to impart wisdom on you that is going to be helpful. So rather than just retreating into yourself, if there is somebody that you can turn to, that might also be helpful. And in particular, if these strong feelings are overwhelming and you are not sure how to get past them, or they're not fading, or you know that it's not good to act on them, but you feel like you want to anyways and you're not sure how to avoid that, then definitely seeking a wise mentor is a great way to express some of these feelings to that person, get some of that out, and then hear from them about what the best way to proceed is. You might know that the action that you feel tempted towards is wrong, but sometimes just hearing somebody else say that is enough to make it click. When we tell ourselves, maybe there's a certain hollowness to it, or we don't truly believe it, but then when we hear it coming from the outside, it might finally land. And in particular, if we hear it from somebody that we trust, or who has been there before, or who we really know that they know what they're talking about, then their words are going to carry more weight. Even if they're saying out loud the exact things that we're saying to ourselves in our head, just coming from them, it might make a totally different impact. So altogether, I think what the cards are saying is that on this day or recently, you've heard or come across some piece of information that is bothering you. It was surprising in some way and causes some kind of uncomfortable feeling, maybe anger, maybe hurt, maybe just an unsettled feeling of dissatisfaction or a lack of understanding, or just bothers you that somebody thinks this or that somebody said that. And you've been mulling it over, and you either already have a strong feeling about how to react in a way that you know isn't going to be the most productive, or as you mull it over in your mind and as you reflect more on the interaction, then those strong feelings are going to come. And either way, whenever those strong feelings do come, don't try to ignore it, but do try to let it pass and act from a place of calmness and a place of certainty that what you're doing is for the best overall, and not just a gut reaction in the moment based on your emotions, especially if those emotions are running very strong and if they are telling you to do things that part of you knows isn't going to work out well, even if it would be satisfying. So if you enjoyed this reading, then subscribe to see more. And if you'd like to learn about tarot cards or try some of my online guided readings, then head on over to foolskey.com where you can check that out. Thanks for watching and see you tomorrow.